Why hello there, I'm Richard from Burning Spears and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be cooking, or making rather, a South African sausage, the South African national sausage, quintessential sausage, sewn into social fabric sausage. The sausage is commonly known as Boerewors, which literally translated means farmer sausage. Some like it thick, some like it thin. It's all up to you, but there are many permutations these days. I try to stick to a more traditional recipe because pork is cheaper in South Africa than beef and lamb, certainly. A lot of Worses have gone down that road, and sort of the cheapest Boerewors, the Worses that are on special, all that sort of thing are heavily porked. So I personally, when I choose my Boerewors, I like to make sure it's a dark color. It's either like red, deep red, brown, purpley, something dark, which would indicate to me that there's less pork in it. So you can have plain beef Boerewors. Rump Boerewors is delicious. They use rump steak, chuck it in the grinder, and that's delicious. You can have a blend of meats in there. Commonly it's beef, lamb and pork, or just beef and pork. So I generally don't like to add more than at a maximum 20% of pork to my Boerewors, but all to their own. Some people might prefer a heavier porked Boerewors to a beefier Boerewors. So in any case, I have accumulated all of my trimmings and stuff like that from brisket to biltong. It was a hot day in summer. You can see the difference in color of the meat when I prepped this. It's been in the freezer, so it's perfectly fine. It just oxidized at a rapid rate. And then when I see some roast meats like pork roast on special, like half price or better than it is normally, or beef at half price or better, I tend to buy a few, as much as I can afford at the time, or carry. I've used some of that in a dry Wors today, but for that I have a beautiful piece of lamb chuck that was on special, this pork that was on special, and this beef roast that was on special, along with my cuttings. So you traditionally want to go with a 20 fat to 80% meat ratio. Today I'm going to be a little bit higher than that by nature of the amount of fat that I'm fortunate enough to have on my trimmings. So I'm going to push that boundary a little bit closer to the 30-70, but I'm going to gauge, and certainly I'm going to try not to get that close. You know, sort of 25-75 would be a sort of limit for me. There's a lot of fat and not a lot of meat compared to that. Now, a lot of recipes would be quite strict on the ratios of meat. I'm not. I'm making it for myself, and I'm using what I've got here. So it's a great way to use up a bunch of stuff that you would have otherwise thrown away. When you buy whole cuts and break them down, you get the choice parts of those cuts at a much cheaper price than you would pay normally, and you get the offcuts which you can use. So it's just a win-win. All right, so I'm going to roughly weigh this stuff, and then I'll come back to you on quantities and all that sort of thing. But stick around; it's going to be a great outcome. Okay, so got a lot of fat. This yellow fat is amazing. This is from a guy's own cow that's been 100% grass fed and really well looked after. And he sent it to my butcher to break down, and I managed to get a little bit of this orange fat. That is just literally gold. Beautiful peach color, orange. You should have seen what the meat looked like. It would have looked fantastic. So that's a great little addition. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be quite a fatty one. So I'm just going to mix it all up. So I've got some pork in there, some lamb, and then beef, and a lot of fatty beef, yeah. Some of this is just going to be gorgeous with that marbling. But yeah, so I'm going to weigh that up, spice it. Okay, so I've got about 5.6 kilograms of meat here. So I've entered that into my recipe. Fortunately, I've got a very clever spreadsheet that does the calcs for me. And I'm going to start with the spices. So I'm going to go for Ground Allspice, 15 grams. The same in black pepper, 15 grams. Freshly ground black pepper. Ground cloves, I want 10 grams because they're so potent. Don't need as much. $45 grams of kosher salt. $45. Then freshly toasted or roasted coriander seeds that I've ground up. So I've got a bit of bite and texture to them still. I'm going to need to put in 60 grams of that. It's 20. 30. Wow, pretty close. Close enough. And last but not least, 30 grams of thyme. 10. I'm actually going to go a little bit less on my recipe today with the thyme. I'm going to go to 25 grams. There we go. Right, red wine vinegar, the liquid ingredient, number 1. 45 mils. Supposed to be the same in Worcester sauce, but I'm going to go to 50 mils because I love it so much. Then typically you add about 10% of your sausage weight in water. So I'm going to go almost 600 milliliters. Right, I'm going to put this in the freezer to chill down and get the fat a little bit more solid for the grind, and then it'll be time to make the sausage. Okay, right, grinding time. So this is all nicely chilled. The fat is quite someplace slightly frozen. Now I've got my coarse grinding plate on this, 6mm, 8mm hole. I'm going to do it through once. Boerewors must have that crumbly texture. It mustn't be a smooth sausage, an emulsified sausage. That's not Boerewors. It's got to be raw and potent and meaty, like myself. So I'm going to pass this through. and I'll put that in a bigger container, I'm sure. I'm going to get that done without, you'll see a lot of videos talk about having this in the freezer before you use it and stuff like that. So it's cold out today. This has been like it's been in the fridge. It's not a problem, the meat's cold. I don't have a lot of heat. So I'm going to be good on that front. What I will say is, all you have to do is really keep an eye out. When this starts coming out like a paste, then you know there's sinew wrapped around. So that's always the risk. But hopefully all my cuts are good and there's not much sinew. And yeah, let's get grinding. Right, so that's all of the Boerewors grind. Add that liquid on there. So the only really sort of mixing you're going to do is a rough mix, just to sort of further work around the fat more evenly. But you're not going to go too nuts on this. Like some sausages you're supposed to massage for 15 minutes or mix for 15 minutes. But I'm just waiting for it just to start to tack slightly. I don't want it to tack too much. When I say tack, I mean stick together lightly like this. For me, that's good. If you were to do it for 10-15 minutes, it would be a more of an emulsified mix, which is not what I want. Perfecto. Right, that's ready for the stuffer. This in the tube. And you want to make sure that you don't get any air in. Right down to where you squeeze it through. Right, so that was quite nice and easy. I'm very fortunate. This is way easier with 2 people than with 1. If there were 2 people, which I don't have the luxury of today, I would essentially be guiding the pressure and moving the sausage away to get a nice uniform fill. With 1 person you sometimes get bends, kinks, twists and a few air bubbles, but I'm not too bothered about that. This is for my own consumption. And it'll still be pretty good anyway. You always have some water on hand. Okay, so it's been a solid 8 hours of work. But I've processed all of my deep freezer savings, my savings banks, and that's the traditional Wors. Looking a little bit fatty, but it'll still be tasty. And then this is the venison Wors, and then I've got the dry Wors done as well. It's 9 o'clock Sunday night. I'm going to shower and go sleepies and portion these tomorrow. So Boerewors can be eaten in a number of ways, either just by itself or as an accompaniment. You can serve it with various sides, like a common South African way to eat it is with stave pap, mealie pap. Zimbabweans call it sadza. It's basically mealie meal, i.e. cornmeal, but roughly ground cornmeal, and that's cooked sort of like a stiff polenta almost. Very, very staple in the African continent is pap, mealie meal. That's the rice of Africa. So you can have it with that and with the tomato and onion relish, just like that. Beautiful. You can have it on a roll, like a hot dog, a Boerewors roll, a boerie roll, which is an extremely popular way of eating it. Great for the kids, quick and easy. You can get your Boerewors on the fire quickly, slap it together for them, stop them whining, and then you can focus on the steaks. So today, basically, I'm just going to put it on a roll. I've got an experimental Boerewors, a different recipe I worked on. A bit more pork in it. You'll see that in the color. But I haven't cooked the Boerewors that you saw me cook. I've basically eaten most of that. But this is just to show you typically how it's done. Getting very smoky in here. I hope you can still see me. Hello. And I'm going to do it two common ways. And you'll see that in a bit. I didn't get hot dog rolls at my lovely supermarket. They didn't have anything. So I got some, what are they called? Baguettes. But stone baked sourdough baguettes, because only the best begets me. So yeah, looking forward to putting it together and showing you that little bit. For South Africans, this is just so common, you're probably turning your television off now, but stick around and see how it looks. And that it is. Let's let that cool while the baguettes get ready, and I'll dish up that shortly. Okay, so version 1, that's a lovely big old sausage, isn't it? Version 1 is with a nice traditional tomato and onion relish. I've got a video out for that in case you are interested. Very traditional. That tomato and onion relish is just a game changer. And then South African staple is Mrs. Ball's chutney. You can use your favorite chutney of choice. Sometimes in the UK, like it's called pickle, like Branson's pickle, something similar to that. You can put fried onions on this. You can put cheese on this. You can put anything you want on this, really. It's entirely up to you. Mustard, you can make it a hot dog if you want. Right, so in the spirit of things, I'll have a munch. But me being me, I'm gonna whack some hot sauce on. I could see chutney, cheese and onion, raw onion even, with or without hot sauce. Super crunch on that baguette. Really, really nice. And the Boerewors, being a thick sausage, stands on its own, and everything else just accompanies it. So you can be quite hectic with some flavors and stuff like that. Really nice. Chutney, Boerewors, beautiful combination. That sweetness is great. To me, that tastes just like home. Absolutely, hands down, it does. So cheers, everyone. Make your own boerewors. Try different recipes, different ways to serve it. For those non-South Africans, it really is a great sausage. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, but it is a very, very nice thing to have. Different for other cultures, for us essential. So I hope you enjoyed watching me make the boerewors, and then this little segment on cooking it and eating it. Cook it on the fire, cook it in a frying pan, cook it in the oven, whatever you want to do. Just make it and try it. Thank you, and that's it.